Okay, welcome again to the system of mind. So, we have concluded that there is something that we can call the system of mind that governs the mind somehow when the genes are not involved. There must be such a system. The question is, what is it like and so on. So, this is my proposal. In short, this is what I hold is the system of our minds, or any mind in the universe, probably. Intelligent mind, that is. They all work like this. So now I will try to explain what this is. I think the easiest way to explain this is to think of the traditional theory of atoms in physics or philosophy a long time ago. You used to think that, philosophers used to think that there must be a smallest part of matter. It cannot be infinitely dividable into smaller and smaller pieces. So there must be a smallest piece where matter is not dividable anymore. Nowadays we don't know that atoms is not the smallest piece, but maybe strings or something is the smallest piece. But anyhow, that was the idea, and it became quite successful. And it's quite logical that there must be a smallest part of matter. Now, how about our non-material life, or our psychological life? Shouldn't that also be able, shouldn't you be able to apply the same thinking about the psychological life? We can look for some smallest psychological pieces that are not dividable anymore. And that is in a way what I have done here. But as we know, when we looked for atoms, there was not one kind of atom, but like 127 or what it is, the whole periodic table of atoms. And I hold that in this case, in the psychological case, it is only, or it is actually two kinds of atoms that makes up our psychology or mind. Okay, so those are experience, signals, and data. That is what I call them. And data is simply the same as information in a computer. It's digital information, and it works just like any information in our computers. Experience signals is something else. Which is not the same as the information in our computers. It's something else then. Okay. So what I've done here is I have plotted these into a scheme here, and it will not be entirely clear here why, because it's kind of hard to explain. But as we have, the idea is that as we have one instance of data, that is a digital 1 or 0, I guess. It will not give rise to anything else. It will just be that one instance of data. But as several instances of data are compared in our brains, then different spectra emerges. That's some sort of spectra is what I call the primitive forms, if you will, the shapes when they are. The spectra is just a line from one point to another where you plot maybe white to black, or colors, or sounds of different sort. You plot those into a spectra in the beginning of your life, and they will make out a spectra. And the same goes for experience signals. When there's one experience signal, it will not be anything by itself, but as there are several, it will give rise to something else called primary experiences. So this is actually the way a child's brain works. We can forget about this line for the time being, and just think of the above. It's the very newly born infant's mind that is depicted here. Yeah. So as now let's look at these 2 points here. So we have actually 2 kinds of senses that corresponds to these 2 sorts of information. That it's not clear for us as adults that these are separable in this way, but if you consider the newly born child, it is clearer that this is the way the senses are separated. So we have our 5 senses, or 6 or 7. That is seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, maybe pain sense, maybe balance sense, and so on. And what I hold here is that the quantitative senses are smelling, tasting, and feeling, and pain sense, while seeing and hearing is qualitative senses. Okay, that's pretty strange, but it's actually, when you think of it, it's very intuitive, and it's that there is a big difference between these types of senses. So the reason I call seeing and hearing qualitative senses is that it is the details that matter in our seeing and in our hearing. And excuse me. And that differs from the quantitative senses, where it's the amount that's interesting. So, if you consider seeing a color, green or something, you're not actually interested in the amount of green that comes into your eyes. That's not the question in your seeing, so to speak. But if you taste a hamburger, the amount of taste from the hamburger, or a smell or something, the amount of smell is what is interesting. So that makes those quantitative senses, while the qualitative senses, they are, in seeing and hearing, you are more interested in the details and shapes of things, and the contrast between different parts of seeing and hearing. And this is very clear when you look at pain, for instance. Pain sense is, it's sometimes considered a separate sense from touch, and it is very clear that it is the amount of pain that is of interest for you, not some discrimination between contrasts of different sorts of pain or something like that. That's not what we care about. Okay, so then we have that the quantitative senses, the infant, gives rise to experience signals, and qualitative senses gives rise to data. So seeing and hearing is only data, while qualitative senses is giving experience signals.